Welcome to English Chiefly. I'm truly grateful you are here today. Today I want to tell you a story. A real story. Not about talent, not about going abroad, not about expensive coaching, but about fear, silence, embarrassment, and transformation. There was a time when I understood English, but I could not speak it. When someone asked me a simple question, my mind went blank. My heart beat fast. My voice disappeared. Inside my head, one sentence repeated, "Don't speak. You will make a mistake." I didn't have an English environment. I didn't have a private teacher. I didn't have money for big courses. But I had one tool, ChatGPT. And that tool became my safe space. A place where I could be wrong. A place where I could practice. A place where I could grow. This is not just a story. This is a 9-step transformation. If I can do it, you can too. Let's begin. Step 1. Destroy the fear of wrong English. I remember sitting in my small room, staring at the blank screen. My mind was filled with doubts. I knew grammar rules, I knew vocabulary, but I couldn't speak. Every time I tried, a voice inside me shouted, "You will make a mistake. You will sound foolish." For years, I let that voice control me. I stayed silent in meetings, avoided phone calls, and even deleted simple messages I wanted to send. I thought I needed to be perfect before speaking. But perfection never came. Fear kept me stuck. One night, I made a decision. I opened ChatGPT and typed honestly, "Please correct my English. I am learning. Do not judge me." Then I wrote my first vulnerable sentence. "I am very feared to speaking English because people laugh." The AI responded gently. Correct sentence, "I am very afraid to speak English because people laugh." Better version, "I feel afraid to speak English because I worry that people might laugh." Reading this, something clicked. Mistakes weren't failures, they were lessons. They were data points showing me exactly where to improve. I realized I could not wait until I was ready. Learning was a process. Speaking meant progress, not perfection. So I started small. I wrote 5 sentences every day. I didn't care if they were simple, even if they were wrong. Each sentence became a step forward. I typed, "I eat breakfast in the morning." ChatGPT corrected, "I eat breakfast in the morning every day." I read the correction. I learned. I typed again. I spoke aloud. And slowly, fear began to fade. I repeated this method daily. Mistakes became my training data. Each correction gave me clarity. Each corrected sentence built confidence. And with time, the voice that once said, "You will fail," was replaced by a new one, "You can improve." I practiced conversations alone first. I asked ChatGPT to simulate questions. When it asked, "What is your favorite hobby?" I answered aloud, stumbling over words. The correction came immediately, and I repeated it until it felt natural. By turning mistakes into a safe learning space, I rewired my fear. I learned that speaking imperfectly is better than staying silent. Progress mattered more than perfection. And most importantly, I realized that being wrong is the fastest way to get right. Fear didn't vanish overnight, but with consistent daily effort, each small action chipped away at it. Slowly, I spoke more freely. I wrote without deleting messages. I answered questions without freezing. I was no longer a prisoner of my own fear. This is the foundation of learning English with ChatGPT. Start before you feel ready. Focus on progress, not perfection. Turn every mistake into a lesson. One sentence at a time, one correction at a time, fear begins to disappear, and your English begins to grow. Step 2. Build a daily microsystem. After I started facing my fear, I realized motivation alone would never be enough. Some days I felt energetic, ready to practice. Other days I felt exhausted, distracted, or discouraged. I needed something that didn't rely on mood or inspiration. I needed a system. So, I decided to build a daily microsystem. 1 hour every single day, divided into 3 focused parts: 20 minutes writing, 20 minutes speaking, and 20 minutes correction. No excuses, no skipping. This small but consistent routine became the backbone of my English journey. At 8 p.m. every night, I sat at my desk, opened ChatGPT, and began with writing. I chose a simple topic each day: my favorite childhood memory, a meal I enjoyed recently, or my dream job. I wrote my thoughts in 150-200 words, not worrying about mistakes. For example, one day I wrote, "Yesterday I go to market and I buy many vegetables. I see many people. They look happy. I feel good." Then I sent it to ChatGPT for correction. The AI responded with clarity, "Yesterday, I went to the market and bought many vegetables. I saw many people. They looked happy. I felt good." I studied each correction carefully. Go became went, buy became bought, and tense consistency was explained. Then I rewrote my paragraph using the improved grammar and structure. Seeing the before and after version made my progress tangible. Next came speaking practice. I asked ChatGPT to simulate a conversation based on the same topic. It asked me questions like, "What is your favorite vegetable?" or "Why do you like going to the market?" I answered aloud, slowly at first. "My favorite vegetable is carrot. I like carrot because it is sweet. I go market with my mother." ChatGPT immediately provided corrections and suggestions. "My favorite vegetable is the carrot because it is sweet. I go to the market with my mother." I repeated the corrected sentences aloud, focusing on pronunciation and rhythm. Day by day, speaking became easier, smoother, and more confident. Finally, I spent the last 20 minutes reviewing corrections, analyzing mistakes, and noting vocabulary improvements. I kept a small notebook where I recorded recurring errors and new phrases. Over time, this microsystem created a feedback loop: write, correct, speak, reinforce. It was simple, but it worked. The beauty of this system was that it removed emotion from progress. I didn't wait to feel motivated. I didn't wait to feel confident. The routine itself carried me forward. Even on days when I was tired or distracted, the system guaranteed that I would practice. One sentence, one correction, one step at a time. After a few weeks, I noticed the change. I wrote without hesitation. I spoke aloud without freezing. I began to anticipate errors and correct them myself. The microsystem had become my training ground. My daily structure became my safe zone, a ritual I could trust to guide me forward. This is the second key to mastering English with ChatGPT. Create a daily routine. Stick to it no matter your mood. Focus on small, consistent actions. 1 hour a day, repeated every day, compounded into progress. Your fear diminishes, your confidence grows, and your English begins to flow naturally. Step 3. Practicing real-life simulations. After building my daily microsystem, I realized that knowing English in theory was not enough. I could write perfect sentences and understand grammar, but when I imagined speaking to a real person, I froze. My words vanished. I needed practice that mimicked real life, a safe environment to make mistakes and improve. So I turned to ChatGPT. I asked it to simulate real-life situations, like job interviews, phone calls, or casual conversations. The first simulation was a simple job interview. I typed, "Act as a job interviewer. Ask me questions." The first question appeared, "Tell me about yourself." I answered aloud, "Myself Rahim. I am hard-working person. I complete graduation." The AI gently corrected me, "My name is Rahim. I am a hard-working person. I have completed my graduation." I repeated the corrected version aloud, focusing on clarity and pronunciation. At first, it felt awkward. My voice was hesitant. My sentences were short. But with each repetition, confidence grew. Next, the AI asked, "What are your strengths?" I responded, "I am very good work with people. I learn fast." The correction came, "I work well with people, and I learn quickly." We practiced multiple rounds, with questions getting gradually more difficult. I simulated job interviews, ordering food in a restaurant, introducing myself at a party, and even casual disagreements with friends. ChatGPT provided immediate feedback, corrections, and alternative ways to say things more naturally. The key was repetition. I would answer aloud, listen to myself, correct, and then answer again. Over time, I began to anticipate errors before making them. My brain adapted to real-life English usage instead of rigid grammar rules alone. To make it more practical, I also recorded my voice during simulations. Listening to recordings helped me notice pronunciation mistakes, pauses, and rhythm issues. Each playback became a mini feedback session, highlighting progress and areas needing attention. This stage taught me that language is not just about knowledge, it's about action. Practicing in real-life scenarios, even virtually, bridges the gap between understanding and using English confidently. Mistakes became stepping stones, simulations became safe practice fields, and every corrected answer reinforced learning. I realized something powerful. Private practice is one thing, real-world application is another. Simulations prepared me to face real conversations without fear. They made my daily corrections practical, actionable, and immediately useful. This is the third key to mastering English with ChatGPT: simulate real-life situations. Practice speaking aloud. Correct, repeat, and reinforce. One conversation at a time, one correction at a time, you transform your theoretical knowledge into real-world ability. Step by step, your confidence grows, your voice becomes steady, and speaking English becomes a natural, comfortable act. Step 3. Practice real conversations. After building a daily microsystem, I quickly realized that writing alone wasn't enough. I could construct perfect sentences on paper, but when it came to speaking with real people, fear gripped me. My mind went blank, my voice froze, and my confidence vanished. I needed to simulate real conversations to bridge the gap between knowledge and practice. I turned to ChatGPT as a conversation partner. I asked it to simulate everyday scenarios, job interviews, phone calls, ordering food, meeting new people, even disagreements with friends. The first experiment was a simple casual conversation. I typed, "Act as a friend and ask me questions about my day." The AI asked, "How was your day today?" I hesitated, then answered aloud, "My day is good. I go market and buy food." ChatGPT responded gently, correcting me. My day was good. I went to the market and bought some food. I repeated the corrected sentence aloud several times, paying attention to pronunciation and word order. At first it felt strange to speak to an AI as if it were a real person, but gradually it became comfortable. Each correction became a lesson, each repetition a building block of confidence. Next, I practiced more challenging scenarios. ChatGPT became an interviewer asking, "Tell me about your strengths and weaknesses." I answered nervously, "I am hardworking and learn fast, but I sometimes make mistake." The AI suggested, "I am hardworking and a fast learner, but I sometimes make mistakes." I repeated it, noticed the subtle improvements, and internalized the correct phrasing. I also recorded myself during these practice sessions. Listening to my own voice helped me identify weak pronunciation, unnatural pauses, and tense errors. Recording and replaying became a personal feedback loop, allowing me to self-correct before the conversation even happened in real life. To make the practice more practical, I started scheduling simulated phone calls, role-playing ordering coffee, making reservations, or introducing myself to new people. The goal was simple. Practice aloud. Make mistakes. Receive corrections. Repeat. Over time, the process became automatic, reducing hesitation and fear. The most important lesson from this stage was that action drives confidence. Practicing in simulated real conversations made me realize that mistakes were not embarrassing, They were opportunities to learn and improve. My brain adapted to real-time sentence formation instead of relying solely on mental translations or textbook knowledge. This step taught me that speaking English is not just about knowing grammar and vocabulary. It's about responding, improvising, and communicating naturally. The more I practiced real conversations, even virtually, the more comfortable and confident I became. Mistakes were stepping stones, simulations were my training ground, and each corrected response built my fluency. Key takeaway: practice real conversations daily. Speak aloud. Make mistakes. Get corrected. Repeat. Step by step, conversation by conversation, your English begins to flow naturally, your confidence grows, and speaking becomes a comfortable, almost instinctive skill. Step 4. Learning to think in English. After practicing real conversations, I noticed a new problem. My mind was still translating from my native language into English. Every sentence took extra time. Every response felt delayed. Thinking in English did not come naturally. I realized that for real fluency, I had to train my brain to operate directly in English. I started small. While walking to the market, I said to myself, "I am walking to the market." While eating dinner, I thought, "I am eating rice and vegetables." Before going to bed, I reviewed my day in English. Today, I woke up early and studied English. I wrote 5 sentences and practiced speaking. At first, it felt strange. My brain was used to translating everything in my head, so thinking in English required conscious effort. Every thought had to be constructed carefully. But slowly, it became a habit. Instead of converting from one language to another, my mind began to form sentences directly in English. I also used ChatGPT to reinforce this. I typed my daily thoughts directly in English without pre-writing them in my native language. ChatGPT corrected grammar, suggested better phrasing, and provided alternative expressions. For example, one day I wrote, "I feel happy because I do progress in English." ChatGPT corrected, "I feel happy because I am making progress in English." Small changes like adding am making instead of do progress helped me think more naturally. In addition, I practiced rapid-fire questions. I asked ChatGPT to quiz me, "What did you eat today? What did you learn? What will you do tomorrow?" I answered aloud immediately in English, without translating in my head. Mistakes came, but corrections were instant, reinforcing natural thinking patterns. I also created mental exercises. Whenever I planned my day, I did it entirely in English. Whenever I described my surroundings, I narrated in English silently. The sun is setting. The birds are flying home. I am going to study English for 1 hour. Gradually, English became my thinking language. This stage reshaped how I approached English. It was no longer a subject I studied. It became a language I used to live in, to think in, to process ideas. By training my mind to operate in English, responses became faster, speaking became more fluid, and fear of hesitation decreased dramatically. Key takeaway: think in English. Narrate your day. Answer questions immediately. Build a mental habit. Step by step, thought by thought, your brain adapts. English stops feeling foreign. Speaking and understanding flow naturally. Fluency begins from the inside out, in the way you think, not just in what you say. Step 5. Write daily and get immediate corrections. After learning to think in English, I realized that my vocabulary and sentence structure were still limited. I often found myself repeating the same simple words and phrases. To progress, I needed to expand my expressions and use them confidently. Writing daily with immediate corrections became my solution. Each morning, I dedicated 30 minutes to writing short paragraphs about anything. My plans for the day, thoughts on a movie, reflections on a book, or even simple descriptions of my surroundings. I typed everything directly in English, No translation from my native language. Even if I made mistakes, I wrote them down. The key was to write consistently, every single day. For example, one day I wrote, "I am very happy today because I learned many new words." I enjoy study English with ChatGPT. ChatGPT corrected it, "I am very happy today because I learned many new words." I enjoy studying English with ChatGPT. I carefully studied each correction. I noted how learn became learned for past tense, and how study needed to be in its gerund form studying. Then, I rewrote my paragraph with the corrections and read it aloud. The repetition helped me internalize grammar rules, sentence structures, and vocabulary naturally. Next, I asked ChatGPT for alternative phrases to make my sentences more expressive. For instance, it suggested, "I am thrilled today because I learned so many new words." I truly enjoy practicing English with ChatGPT. These subtle changes transformed simple sentences into fluent, more native-like expressions. Daily practice made me more comfortable experimenting with new vocabulary, idioms, and sentence structures. I also created small exercises. Every day, I chose 5 new words or phrases and used them in sentences. I asked ChatGPT to correct them immediately. For example, delighted, "I am delighted with my progress today." Thrilled, "I am thrilled about learning English daily." Corrections were instant, reinforcing proper usage and meaning. Over time, this constant feedback loop built my confidence. Mistakes became learning moments, corrections became guidance, and vocabulary grew steadily. Writing daily with immediate correction not only improved grammar and word choice, but it also strengthened my ability to express thoughts clearly. When I later spoke, the words came naturally because I had already practiced them in writing and heard them corrected in real time. Key takeaway: write every day. Get immediate corrections. Use new words and phrases. Rewrite, speak aloud, and internalize. Step by step, sentence by sentence, your vocabulary expands. Your confidence grows. Writing and speaking reinforce each other. You become capable of expressing yourself naturally, fluently, and confidently in English. Step 6. Shadowing and pronunciation correction. Even with improved vocabulary and grammar, I noticed a new obstacle: my pronunciation and rhythm were weak. I could construct sentences correctly, but when I spoke aloud, words sounded awkward, and sentences lacked natural flow. To address this, I began shadowing and focused specifically on pronunciation. Each day I selected a sentence or short paragraph I had written or received correction for. I read it aloud slowly, deliberately focusing on each sound, each word, and the sentence's natural rhythm. For example, one sentence was, "Opportunity comes to those who prepare." I read it aloud 10 times, then 20 times, noticing where my voice stumbled, which syllables were stressed incorrectly, and where pauses felt unnatural. Reading repeatedly allowed me to internalize the natural rhythm of English. Next, I recorded myself. Listening to the recordings revealed subtle mistakes I hadn't noticed while speaking. My sounds were too soft, my vowels were often wrong, and my sentences lacked fluidity. Recording was humbling but invaluable. It gave me an objective view of how I sounded to others. I then asked ChatGPT for pronunciation feedback. I typed the sentences and requested phonetic guidance and tips on word stress. ChatGPT suggested corrections such as, "Prepare should stress the second syllable, prepare. Opportunity should be pronounced with clear syllable separation. Opportunity." I repeated the sentences aloud following these corrections. I also tried shadowing native audio examples, mimicking their intonation, stress, and speed. For instance, I listened to a sentence spoken naturally and immediately repeated it, trying to match tone, rhythm, and clarity. This method, known as shadowing, helped my speech sound more natural and confident. Small exercises help too. I would pick 5 challenging words each day and repeat them in different sentences, gradually increasing speed while maintaining clarity. For example, I am delighted to have this opportunity today. She prepares her work carefully every morning. Over time, my rhythm improved, my stress patterns became accurate, and my sentences flowed more naturally. I could hear myself improving from one session to the next. Shadowing not only corrected pronunciation, but also boosted my confidence to speak with real people. The transformation was subtle at first, but consistent daily practice made a big difference. Speaking slowly, recording, receiving feedback, and shadowing became a routine I trusted to guide my improvement. Key takeaway: read aloud daily. Record yourself and listen critically. Ask for pronunciation feedback. Practice rhythm, stress, and clarity. Step by step, word by word, your English begins to sound natural. Sentences flow, confidence rises. Speaking becomes clear, comfortable, and powerful. Step 7. Psychological reframing and confidence building. Even with grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation improving, I realized that my biggest obstacle was still internal. Fear, self-doubt, and the constant worry of making mistakes kept creeping in. I needed to reframe my mindset and view mistakes differently. That's when psychological reframing became my focus. I began by changing the language I used about myself. Instead of saying, "My English is bad," I told myself, "I am in training. I am improving every day." Athletes don't criticize themselves for making errors during practice, they use errors to get better. I applied the same principle to my English learning. Every time I made a mistake, I asked ChatGPT to analyze it and explain it clearly. I typed, "Explain my error and how I can fix it." This turned mistakes into lessons rather than failures. For instance, I once wrote, "She go to school yesterday." ChatGPT explained, "The correct past tense is went, so it should be she went to school yesterday." Instead of feeling embarrassed, I absorbed the correction and repeated it aloud, reinforcing the right pattern. I also created mental affirmations. Every morning, before practice, I said, "I am capable. I am improving. Mistakes are my guide. I will speak confidently." Repeating these phrases rewired my brain. The negative self-talk faded, replaced by a mindset of progress and resilience. Another strategy was reframing fear. Instead of seeing nervousness as a weakness, I viewed it as a sign of growth. Every time my heart raced before speaking, I reminded myself, "This is practice. This is progress. I am learning." Fear became a signal to focus, not a reason to avoid speaking. I also recorded small victories. When I could complete a paragraph correctly, answer a question fluently, or read a sentence without hesitation, I noted it in a journal. Seeing tangible progress built confidence over time. Step by step, I noticed a transformation. I stopped hiding in silence. I stopped overthinking. I began volunteering answers in conversations, posting short messages online, and speaking aloud even when alone. Confidence was no longer an abstract concept, it became a habitual response to challenges. Key takeaway: change your inner dialogue. See mistakes as lessons. Use fear as fuel. Celebrate small victories. With consistent psychological reframing and daily practice, your confidence builds naturally. You start to speak freely, take risks, and embrace learning. Step by step, your mindset shifts, and your English practice becomes not just a skill, but a reflection of a stronger, bolder version of yourself. Step 8. Real-world exposure strategy. By the time I reached psychological reframing, I had made great progress in writing, speaking, and thinking in English. But I realized that real fluency required exposure outside the comfort zone. Practicing privately or with ChatGPT was powerful, but using English in the real world was the ultimate test. I started small. I created online posts in English sharing short stories about my day, thoughts on learning English, or reflections on books I read. At first, I hesitated. What if people judged my mistakes? What if my sentences were awkward? But I reminded myself of the mindset I had built: mistakes are lessons, not failures. One post read, "Today I practice English for 1 hour. I write, speak, and learn new words. I feel happy about my progress." I posted it publicly. People responded positively. Some corrected minor mistakes, others praised my effort. The feedback was instant, real, and valuable. Each comment, whether correction or encouragement, reinforced learning and boosted confidence. Next, I started commenting on public forums and articles. I shared opinions, answered questions, and joined discussions. Each comment required careful thought and expression. For example, on a language learning forum I wrote, "I struggle sometimes with past tense, but I practice every day with ChatGPT. It helps me improve quickly." Corrections came, advice came, and interaction came. Real-world application made English more alive and practical. I also took a bolder step, speaking with strangers. Whenever possible, I spoke to store clerks, bus drivers, or neighbors in English. The first few attempts were terrifying. I stumbled, hesitated, and repeated myself. But each interaction was short, controlled, and manageable. Over time, the fear faded, replaced by practical confidence. To increase real-life exposure systematically, I created small daily exercises. Post one sentence publicly online. Comment on 2 posts or articles. Speak aloud to one stranger, or practice simulated conversations. Record each interaction, noting corrections and improvements. This routine ensured consistent exposure while keeping progress measurable. English stopped being a practice subject and became a living tool for communication. The most important insight from this stage was that real-world application accelerates learning. When I faced genuine conversations, I applied vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation in real time. I realized gaps instantly and received feedback, either from humans or from self-correction based on experience. Key takeaway: post online, comment publicly, speak with strangers, apply English in real life. Step by step, interaction by interaction, you break the barrier between practice and fluency. Exposure builds courage, reinforces learning, and makes English a natural part of your daily life. The more you practice publicly, the more confident, fluent, and capable you become. Step 9. Identity transformation and becoming a confident English speaker. After months of consistent practice, shadowing, writing, thinking in English, and real-world exposure, I noticed a fundamental shift, not just in my skills, but in who I was. English was no longer a subject I studied, it had become part of my identity. I had transformed from someone afraid to speak into a confident communicator. The first sign of change came in my self-talk. Where I used to say, "I am learning English," I now said, "I am someone who speaks English confidently." This subtle shift in language reflected a deeper internal change. My mind no longer saw mistakes as threats. Fear became a signal to focus, practice, and improve. Confidence replaced hesitation. I noticed my actions change too. I volunteered to answer questions during meetings, initiated conversations with strangers, and posted in English without overthinking. Speaking English became second nature. I didn't have to translate from my native language. Thoughts flowed directly into English sentences. I felt empowered. ChatGPT continued to support me, but my reliance on it shifted. I used it to refine my writing, expand vocabulary, or simulate advanced conversations. But I no longer depended on it for courage. I had internalized the skills, routines, and mindset needed for fluent English. Small exercises reinforced this identity shift. Every morning, I narrated my plans aloud in English. Every evening, I reflected on the day in English. Even when alone, I spoke, thought, and wrote in English naturally. I had created a consistent English environment inside my mind where confidence and fluency coexisted. This transformation was not instantaneous. It was the result of 9 steps, repeated daily, with patience and discipline. 1. Destroying the fear of wrong English. 2. Building a daily microsystem. 3. Practicing real conversations. 4. Learning to think in English. 5. Writing daily and getting immediate corrections. 6. Shadowing and pronunciation correction. 7. Psychological reframing and confidence building. 8. Real-world exposure and application. 9. Identity transformation. Now, English was part of who I was. I no longer felt intimidated, I no longer doubted myself, and I no longer hesitated to communicate. I had become a confident English speaker. Key takeaway: your identity determines your actions. Actions determine results. By adopting the identity of a confident English speaker, you naturally speak, write, and think fluently. Step by step, habit by habit, thought by thought, you become the person you aspire to be. English is no longer just a skill, it is a reflection of your growth, discipline, and courage. And the journey continues. One sentence, one conversation, one day at a time. Final words. Your English journey starts here. Congratulations! You've completed the journey through the 9 steps of learning English with ChatGPT. But more importantly, you've seen that fluency is not about luck, talent, or time. It's about daily action, mindset, and the decision to grow. Every small step you take, every sentence you write or speak, brings you closer to becoming a confident English speaker. Here at English Achievely, we believe learning English is more than memorizing rules or vocabulary. It's about transforming your thinking, your habits, and even your identity. This channel is your safe space, your mentor, and your guide. Every video, every story, every exercise is designed to help you take action, overcome fear, and see real measurable progress. Remember, the journey may feel challenging at first. You may stumble, you may hesitate. That is not failure, it is your training ground. Mistakes are feedback. Corrections are guidance. Each small effort compounds into massive results over time. Start today. 1 sentence. 1 correction. 1 conversation. Repeat daily. Build your microsystem. Think in English. Shadow native speakers. Post online. Speak with strangers. Transform your mindset. Embrace the identity of a confident English speaker. This is a new journey for every English learner, and English Achievely is here to walk with you every step of the way. Stay consistent, stay motivated, and trust the process. Your progress is waiting for you. If I can do it, you can do it. If thousands of learners around the world can improve, so can you. This is not just a story, it's a guide, a system, and a pathway to fluency. So start now. Take the first step. Speak, write, practice, and grow. Your English journey begins today, and the world is waiting to hear your voice.